Welcome to the 84th annual meeting of the Marshall County REMC. I am the chairman of the board, Richard Leeper. The board has determined to proceed virtual with our annual meeting, reports to the membership, and conduct the election of the directors by mail and email as done last year. Numbers of members voting by this is up substantially over prior years and methods, and we encourage all the membership to vote for the directors of their choice. At this time, if we could be in an attitude of prayer. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for this opportunity for us to meet with our membership and to go over the business of the past year. Please help us to make decisions that benefit all of our co-op and would be pleasing to you. Thank you so much for the safety of our workers, and pray for your mercies in our endeavors and travels over the year to come. In the precious name of Jesus we pray. Amen. In recognition of our veterans, I have a definition I would like to read. A veteran, whether active duty, retired, National Guard, or Reserve, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including my life. Let us all keep this in mind whenever we hear our national anthem. Our board secretary, treasurer John Redinger, will now give us his annual report.
Welcome to the 2023 edition of the Marshall County Rural Electric Membership Corporation virtual meeting. I'm John Redinger, and I, John Redinger, being first duly sworn on oath, deposes and says that he is duly elected, qualified, and acting secretary of the Marshall County Rural Electric Membership Corporation, that on February 28, 2023, he caused to be mailed at each member of the co-op, at the address that appears on the record of the co-op, a notice of the annual meeting of the members of the cooperative to be held April 4th, 2023, by depositing such notice with postage thereon addressed to the aforesaid in the United States Postal Mail, and that the attached is foregoing and true, and the correct copy of such notice. And that notice actually appeared in the March edition of the 2023 Indiana Connection magazine on page 6. So that highlighted banner there is where you can find that notice of the meeting. Next, we want to look at the attendance and the approved membership of the cooperative on March 3rd, 2023 is 7,431 members, with 849 members receiving service at 2 or more places. The quorum is 2%, or 132 members. And the minutes for last year's annual meeting is posted on the marshallcounty.com website, where you can find marshallcountyremc.com website. And it is the opinion of the chair that the motion has passed. Accordingly, the 2022 minutes of our annual meeting are accepted.
Hello, I'm David Fortin, attorney for the REMC, here to read the minutes of the nominating committee. The nominating committee of the Marshall County Rural Electric Membership Corporation met pursuant to their notice at the REMC office on January 13th, 2023 at 10 a.m. The purpose of the nominating committee was to select candidates for directors to be voted on at the annual meeting on April 4th, 2023. The following members of the nominating committee were present: John Langfelt, Steve Blackford, Craig Hawley, Dennis McVeigh, Curtis Zekiel, Tammy Langfelt, Kay Schultz, and Cheryl Jennings were present. Dave Llewellyn, CEO, was present to provide the nominating committee with the bylaws that outline the duties and responsibilities of the directors and of the nominating committee. Robin Roberts, REMC Director, was present representing the board as required in the bylaws for observation of the nominating committee process. John Langfelt was elected to serve as chairman, and committee member Cheryl Jennings was selected as secretary. After discussing the qualifications of members, the following REMC members were selected as candidates for director to be voted on by the members at the annual meeting on April 4th, 2023. Richard Leeper, Melinda Overmeyer, Corey Creighton, and Ryan Sieber. There being no further business to come before the nominating committee, Chairman Langfelt asked to dismiss the meeting. Steve Blackford made a motion to adjourn, and Kay Schultz gave a second. The motion carried. The meeting adjourned at 10:55 a.m. And that concludes the minutes of the nominating committee.
Welcome to the financial report for Marshall County Rural Electric Membership Corporation. And those numbers that we're going to be discussing this morning are on the page 8 of the same Indiana Connections March edition of 2023. It's got some financial information there, and it's got a big pie chart, and at the bottom it talks about how many members we actually have. So in February this year, the auditors from London Witty Corporation met with the board and presented the findings of their audit from last year. The audit came back as a clean audit, which is what the board members want to always hear. That means that the spot checks and the audit that they did actually agreed with what they found in the records of the people. We thank everybody that works for us in the auditing or in the accounting and front office that the numbers are coming together. So what we decided to highlight this year was some of the assets that we've got for the corporation. And as a membership corporation, these are actually owned by the members and the people that buy the power. You make investments, your neighbors make investments, and that's how these rural electric membership corporations were set up. The utility that we have in service is worth $49 million, and we had accumulated depreciation of about $5.8 million, which gives us a net utility plant worth of $43 million. So then we've got investments in some other things, and I'll let you read through those categories, but total assets that the corporation owns is worth $60 million, almost $61 million. And then we've got liabilities on that. We've got accounts that are payable. We've got long-term debt. The long-term debt from two different groups are about $27.5 million. And we've got memberships, patronage, capital, and other things that are liabilities and equities, total up to that near $61 million. The pie chart that we're showing this year is kind of showing where do we actually get the money from through different classes of our memberships. We've got $12.5 million of income comes from the residential customers, which are the lion's share of our 7,000 plus meters. Actually, about 6,300 meters are residential. So a big portion of our income comes from the residential accounts. We've got about 150 meters that are irrigation. We've got about 1,000 meters that are commercial and small industrial. We've got about 30 members that their class is the large commercial and industrial, and we serve about 20 public entities across our county. So then by the number, if you want to know where your dollars are spent, sometimes in the past I've talked about what the pie chart would show is that for every dollar you spend, about 62 cents or 62% goes towards purchase power. That's what we pay for our power bill that we receive from Wabash Valley. that purchases the power and gets it up to us so we can turn around and sell it to you. Then if we loop together operations, maintenance, consumer account expenses, and administrative expenses, if we would total those dollars up, that would be about 27% of the dollar, 27 cents of every dollar that you spend. And that would leave about 9.5 cents or 9.5% that would go towards depreciation on the system. We're like any other business. We make investments, and then depending upon the depreciation schedule, we actually take depreciation for that. And then there's 1% that we pay on taxes. So we talked a year ago about having to possibly increasing the rates that we charge the consumers, and after we got that report from the board, we used the CFC group to make a presentation to the board that recommended that we did implement a change so we wouldn't run into financial difficulties, especially in this time of escalating prices and being able to get materials, and especially putting that new substation together down around Argus. That's a big expense, and everything that we all do, fuel and labor and things, are all costing us a little bit more when we have to hire people to come in to do that. And so that looks like after we ended up getting that implemented, things are going to maintain whole, which is what the board wants to do. We are non-for-profit, so we try to run things as close as we can on balanced budgets, but at the same time, we can't run at a deficit for a long, long time either. So one other thing I'd like to touch on is the Operation Roundup, and there was a report on page 7 of that same Indiana Connections magazine telling about the value of the donations that we granted was over $21,000 to local organizations last year in 2022. And REMC tries to be very involved and help outfits in the community. And if you've got a nonprofit organization, you could apply for a grant to be able to possibly receive some of that extra money that's generated by the members. Instead of paying the odd cents at the end of the bill, just go ahead and round that up. And so that's been a quite successful thing, and we've tried to help some very good organizations within the community. So you might want to review that report on page 7 as well. So that wraps up my financial report for the year, and thank you all for taking time to listen to this program. Have a great day.
It would be the opinion of the chair that the motion passed. Accordingly, the audited treasurer's report of 2022 is accepted. A point of order appealing the adoption of the treasurer's report may be raised at a subsequent meeting of the members.
Hello, I am Dave Llewellyn, and I'm honored to be the president and CEO of Marshall County REMC. I would like to welcome you to the 84th Marshall County Annual Membership Meeting. I want to thank you for taking the time to participate in this important annual cooperative event. I hope you all had an opportunity to cast your vote in the director election through the online or mail-in ballot. By offering these options for the first time last year, it dramatically increased the number of members who were able to participate in this election process, which we received a lot of positive feedback on. I want to start off by first giving you a high-level view of things that are happening in our industry. There is currently a rapid shift towards increased electrification and decarbonization in this country, which is causing huge new challenges and exciting opportunities for the electric industry. In an effort to reduce greenhouse gases, many state and federal government regulations are being mandated that are causing drastic changes in the electric industry, from power generation, transmission, distribution, all the way down to the adoption of electric vehicles. Huge new challenges are ahead for the entire industry as baseload coal generation plants are shut down because of mandates or the fact that they are no longer economical to operate due to increased regulation. The majority of these shutdowns are scheduled for 2028, causing a huge void in electric capacity. The big concern is that there is currently a major backlog in the project queue for new generation capacity, whether it be from natural gas or renewables like wind and solar. These backlogs are being caused by supply chain issues, labor shortages, and rising costs, which are coming in 15 to 20% higher. Traditionally, a project would be complete in 4 years from start to finish, where now it is estimated that it will take 4 years just for the project to get through the queue, and then another 6 years to complete, meaning that this new needed capacity will most likely not be ready by the time it is needed. Another challenge is the aging electric grid is not capable of meeting the anticipated increased demand from clean energy sources like wind and solar. The network of transmission lines that carry electricity across the country is old and in need of massive overhaul. New transmission lines are needed to get the power from where it is being generated from renewables to where it is actually needed and going to be used. The problem is these lines take years to plan for and build, and these projects face constant pushback from the public, making it extremely difficult to get the necessary easements, and if you can get it built, it comes at a staggering cost. Maintaining grid stability and reliability is another challenge with the increased reliance on power generation from renewable sources like wind and solar that are intermittent. This is driving huge investments in battery storage technology so power can be produced when conditions are right and then stored to be used anytime. Batteries can be charged using clean renewable power and just discharged to the grid when needed. Once again, though, these batteries come with a hefty price tag and the technology is still not perfected but is rapidly improving. Distribution electric utilities like Marshall County REMC that provide the final stage in the delivery of electric power, carrying electricity from the transmission system to the individual consumer, also face new challenges. Rising costs and supply chain constraints have become the new norm, making it all the more difficult to provide reliable and affordable electric. In fact, in the U.S., consumers paid on average 14% more for electric in 2022. With all that being said, at Marshall County REMC, we are constantly monitoring the onset of new technologies like electric vehicles, battery storage, and member interconnected solar so we can ensure our grid locally can handle the increased demand and while maintaining power quality and reliability. Rest assured, the National Electric Cooperative Association, or NRECA, Indiana Electric Cooperatives, our statewide organization, and Wabash Valley Power, our wholesale power provider and industry experts, and the Distribution Electric Co-op Network are all working together and with legislators and industry technology leaders to make sure this will all work. With all these new challenges, it also brings new opportunities for Marshall County REMC, as we have experienced relatively slow load growth over the last decade. This push for further electrification, especially the onset of electric vehicles, will indeed bring significant load growth to our system. We have already begun taking steps so we can be prepared to meet our members' needs. We will be bringing our new Marco substation online this month, which is a new multi-million-dollar substation located south of Argus on 18th Road. This new substation will relieve existing capacity constraints and provide the needed capacity to meet future needs. Also, this substation will give us much greater switching capability for power restoration during outage events and increased reliability. We also just received approval of a new construction work plan that will be completed over the next 4 years. This construction work plan addresses constraints within the system that need corrected to be able to handle further growth. This includes new 3-phase tie lines, the replacement of old and undersized wire, and the continued utilization of state-of-the-art advanced metering infrastructure and smart grid fiber network to be able to take advantage of the latest technology advancements for monitoring and controlling critical devices within the Marshall County REMC grid. We are also implementing new technologies to fight against the ever-present threat of cybersecurity attacks. I want to close by thanking you for not only being a member, but for taking the time to be a part of this year's annual meeting. Thanks to the nominating committee and the director candidates for their participation in the election process. I want to thank my entire staff. Without you, none of this work happens. I want to recognize Marshall County REMC retiring director Steve Roberts for his dedication and years of service, serving as an integral part of the Marshall County REMC board for over 30 years. Steve, thank you. It has been an honor and privilege working with you, and you will be truly missed. The results of the election are listed at the end of this video and on our website. The bill credit winners will be posted in the next edition of the Indiana Connections magazine and will be available on our website once the drawing is complete. We also have a copy of the election results and bill credit winners that will be available in our office. Lastly, please join us this year, Wednesday, July 19th at the Marshall County 4-H Fair for the Marshall County REMC Member Appreciation Day. Members who stop by the booth will receive a $10 meal voucher for a participating food vendor. Thanks again, and be safe.